first question is both the Indianapolis 500 and Gateway races experienced rain delays and red flags during the sessions. As a driver, how do you mentally and physically stay prepared during these unexpected stoppages, and what challenges come with these to speed up racing the race?
Yeah, I mean it's tricky. The whenever a red flag like that comes out, you have to be careful not to fall out of the zone, so to speak. I think that it's really easy in a race like the Indy 500 where it's that long of an event that you naturally just kind of get in the rhythm of things and then kind of zone out after a while. So having a red flag actually kind of helps in a sense to break it up and make it feel like multiple races, so you're not getting distracted while you're out on track at 200 miles an hour. But with that, if you're in the zone and you're doing well, it kind of breaks that rhythm in the worst way possible. So I remember the 500 this year. I didn't feel like we were sitting for too long. It wasn't like something crazy where we had to kind of reset the mind and start over again. But I was asking my crew members, like my engineer on the stand, my spotters, just for info, just to keep my mind occupied with what was going on in the race and kind of build an image in my head of what I was going to see when I reapplied myself back on the track. Same thing for Gateway. I think it's really easy to get distracted uh, when you're sitting in pit lane and you're chatting about other things, just kind of goofing off or whatever, killing time. But it was really helpful for me at Gateway to stay in the moment by asking my team, hey, where are the drivers at? What's their tire strategy? What stint are they on? What's our fuel number? How many laps are left? So simple questions like that to keep my mind occupied were really helpful.
You've now raced for three different IndyCar teams in your career. How does it feel to have each stop help shape you as a driver today?
I think each place has been quite a bit different, but I've learned different things at each place. Obviously, my rookie season with the Coin Racing, I was just learning what IndyCar was all about. I had no idea. I mean, even my first race, St. Petersburg, Florida, back in 2023, I remember thinking like, oh, we'll be all right. We qualified kind of poorly, but I think I finished 16th. And I came into the pits after that race. I was like, man, that's the hardest 16th I've ever worked for. And all the guys kind of looked at me like, oh, all right, well, this guy's in for a real treat the rest of his time in IndyCar because 16th was good. And it's really, really tough and competitive in IndyCar. So that first season, I think, was just really a humbling experience overall. And it changed my mindset for the rest of my career. And then year two was with AJ Foyt Racing. And although they had the partnership with Penske, I think that we had natural speed at times, but we just couldn't put it together. My best result to date was on that oval back in Gateway that year, led some laps of the 500. So I had some potential good results and just weren't able to apply it. And then now being with Juncos Hollinger Racing for 2 years, it's been nice to have that continuity season to season. And I've seen the value of teams that stick together, whether that's the engineering staff or mechanic staff or the drivers on staff. It really is applicable to have a group of people that are molded together. You look at like Ganassi, for example. Scott Dixon worked with the same crew for so long. Will Power was the same at Penske. And I think that leads to their success because they can build a program year over year and make adaptations where guys that are new to the team, they're just trying to figure out the team, let alone figure out how to make it better. So there is something to be said about continuity growing the abilities of a team. And I think that that's been the biggest learning curve I've had over the last few years.
You saying about your Juncos, I can't even say the name right. Juncos Hollinger
JHR
Racing.
for short.
You also won the USF Pro 2000 Championship with them in 2020. Now reunited with them this season, how special is it to reconnect with the group that played such an important role in your development?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's funny looking back at 2020. Alejandro Juncos, who is Ricardo Juncos' brother, was the guy that was my crew chief back in 2020. He strapped me into the car. He's the one that tightened my seatbelts down for me. He did all the mechanic stuff behind the scenes, and he's still on the IndyCar crew today, which is really fun. It's funny. My wife and I, we actually raise chickens here at home in Indianapolis, and one of our number one customers for our eggs is Alejandro Juncos. So it's fun to have that familiar feeling within the team. But even more ironic than that, Rinus VK is my teammate now. He won the championship with the team back in 2019, in the same car that ended up winning the or sorry, 2018. In 2018, he won the championship. And then I won the championship in 2020, just 2 years later in the same car. So it's kind of fun. It's like a full reunion with a lot of the same guys, and us two drivers feel like we're at home a lot of times with them uh, for at least the feeling of being in the same building as we were when we won those championships, which is a good reminder.
When fans watch you on race day, what do you think is something that they don't realize goes into preparing for an IndyCar weekend?
From the driver's perspective, I think what often gets overlooked is the physical side. And I think I say that, but there's been a lot of highlights over the last few years on that. But for IndyCar specifically, I think the lack of power steering makes people train to a higher level of strength rather than endurance compared to other motorsport series. So I think that if you were to say it's underrated, I think that that strength component of motorsports and IndyCar has been overlooked at times, or at least not appreciated in the preparation side. And then in addition to that, I think that on the engineering role, strategy year over year is such a big part that doesn't get the sort of rewards or the accolades that people probably realize it's capable of doing. Because year over year, the strategies change because the tire compound's different, fuel's different, hybrid unit's different. So there's constant adaptations that need to be made. But the teams that do the best, the ones that get lucky, seem to make their own luck. Look at Alex Palou. He catches a yellow lucky almost every single race. I don't know how they do it, but it seems to work out that way. So I think for those guys that really study up on the strategy side, that's where all the money's made.
Road America is one of those most challenging road courses on the calendar. What aspects of the track do you enjoy the most as a driver?
I love road courses and street courses, and Road America is like one of the best road courses that we go to all year. First off, I love the location. It's a beautiful part of the country. It's kind of rolling hills, greenery all over, forest. And I think that that applies itself to making it such a fun race because you're in an area that you love. It's fun to look at, it's fun to drive on. You have the rolling terrain of the circuit itself, and it's 4 miles long. It's the longest circuit that we go to, so it lends itself to being really quick in the straights. We usually have a lot of passing because of that as well. And it really makes it challenging in the strategy perspective, as I talked about earlier, because you're having to deal with a circuit that is so long, it doesn't lend itself to big windows of opportunity. So you have to be very, very, very detailed in your application of strategy and then how you fuel save through the race, how you're planning on tire strategy. And I think this year will be even more so. There was a test just a few weekends ago at Road America, and the degradation level of the tires was like 4 seconds over a stint. So 4 seconds of deg over a full stint. I think that we're going to see a lot of passing that we haven't seen before. And on a track that is so high speed as Road America, it will be very challenging.
The circuit obviously features long straights, heavy braking signs, and has significant elevation changes. How do you balance the aggression and patience over a race weekend there?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that of the tracks that we go to, there is more window for errors to be recovered. Um, Meaning you have more forgiveness in the circuit itself, bigger runoffs, bigger exit curbings. But the true speed that comes doesn't come from braking as late as possible, but actually how you get out of the turn. So you're trying to brake as late as you can while having your acceleration point be very early in the turn because the straightaways are so long. And so it kind of pivots the ideal of a turn from the turn sector itself being ideal to the turn plus a straightaway. Whereas other tracks we go to, you kind of compromise the straightaway with braking too late into a turn to get set up for the next one. So I think that's one thing that you have to really balance the aggression side, as you said, at Road America. It's really, really easy to overshoot the entry of a turn and not get the run out that you need to because the straightaways are so long.
Road America often rewards drivers like Alex Palou, Joseph Newgarden, with who can manage their tire degradation and strategy. What are some of the keys to putting together a successful race weekend at the venue?
I think the guys that we see do well there do well because they're so aware of the limit of the tire. And so when you talk about tire degradation, having that level of awareness allows them to push when they need to, but also know how to get to 100%, but not to 101%. That comes from experience. That comes from just the feeling in the car, being kind of very connected with the car. In a circuit like Road America, you feel like you're going to drive off the track at all times because you're using all of the runoff and really trying to build the rolling speed through the turns so you can carry that onto the straightaway. And so lateral grip in the tire is super important as well as traction. And so those are the two key kind of main areas where, like the carousel, for example, is a very long duration, high speed right-hander that really wears out the left side tires. And for those guys, they know where that 95% is to save the tires for an endurance of the race.
Your best finish this season was 14th in Detroit. What do you feel worked for you and the team that weekend, and how will you build that into the momentum at Road America?
Yeah, it is a funny question because you asked what went right in that weekend, and almost nothing went right. Practice one, we had a clutch failure. Practice two, we had an engine failure. So almost no track time before qualifying. Qualified dead last, or almost dead last, and really just was trying to survive the race. And I think what happened pretty well was that we were able to build a program that was based off of our success last year and evolve it. And then the car itself really was quite different from last year's race. And so I didn't know the car that well. I wasn't that familiar with the feeling that was giving, the feedback it had for me until we were in the race. Once we were in the race, we were able to hold pace, make up spots. Obviously, there was a lot of opportunity with yellow flags and everything else that closed up the field. But that opportunity we were able to capitalize on because we had a great car underneath us. So you ask what went right? Nothing but the race. So if we can compromise at least a little bit of the very beginning part of a race and maybe add that to the rest of the weekend, it'd be nice to kind of have a better preparation into the main event. But nonetheless, if we have top 15s for the rest of the year, I'd be pretty happy.
IndyCar is known for how competitive the field is, even when the small improvements can make a massive difference in results. Why do you think the team is the closest to finding those extra tenths of a second needed to get you further up the field?
Yeah, it is very competitive. I think that that's what makes IndyCar so fun to watch, so fun to be a part of, because on any given day, it could be your day. And I think that's why I said that strategy is so important because the field is so tight. I mean, the drivers really do extract the most out of the car as often as they can. And it makes a very, very small window of opportunity until it comes to those strategy plays. So when it comes to extracting those tenths of a second or hundredths of a second, the teams work super hard. And I think that the teams that have success week in and week out is the ones that are in that window constantly. They've found their sort of secret sauce to apply every weekend. They build a program year over year. And a younger team like JHR, we don't have that experience to pull from. Where like a Ganassi or Penske, they've been in the series since this car came out. Let's see, it is the DW12, so 2012 is when this chassis was introduced. So it's a 14-year-old chassis. And for teams that have been in the series that long, they've seen so much uh, differences year over year that allow them to apply that knowledge to the new concepts that we're still learning. We're still seeing it for the first time a lot of times. So I think that that's kind of where the difference is made is that the familiarity year over year, the programs building year over year. And I think that's why you see the rich get richer, so to speak, in motorsports, right? The better teams have better success year over year because they're attracting better talent. They're having sort of that foundation is a higher level. Their window of operation is a higher level, where our window of operation might have the same max potential, but our lower is much lower. And so it's just trying to close that window up to that top level as much as we can, make it consistent, make it applicable weekend to weekend.
And lastly, a very, very, very silly question from me. As IndyCar was showing the World Cup gear, did any of you USA guys do rock, paper, scissors, or how did it be New Garden showing the USA kit?
It's a great question. I would have thrown my hand up to offer my services to the World Cup there, but I think Joseph was selected as I think he was the last American championship winner, if I'm not mistaken. So, and last Indy 500 winner that was American. So he's kind of earned a right to get to represent the USA to the World Cup.
I would have just picked the most USA person, which would have been either you or, even though this one's retired, Captain America, Ryan Hunter Ray.
Yeah, either one of us, I think, would have been very happy to do so, but Joseph will work for now. Maybe next World Cup, one of us will get our chance.